All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Texas Storm Chasers David-Reimer. Apparently, nap time wasn't going to be a fulfilling part of the day. We started a bit early compared to what I expected with my morning forecast, but you know what? Maybe that means we can be done a bit earlier today as well. We do have a tornado warning for a thunderstorm with a history of producing a tornado already. This is going to be a possible tornado now located about 11 miles west of Hamilton, moving east at 30. This thunderstorm is capable of producing golf ball to tennis ball size hail and also capable of producing damaging winds and tornadoes. So again, this is going to be a tornado warning until 2:15 p.m. for central Hamilton County and portions of southern North Texas. This is going to be east of Highway 183, coming up on Highway 281, so at least that initiation corridor we pointed out this morning was still valid, but unfortunately this thing just decided to get going about an hour-ish early. Again, so as we have seen, this storm fired up very quickly and became extremely organized extremely quickly, as we explained what happened in this morning's video. And this thunderstorm has already produced one brief tornado and could drop another tornado at any time. We've got a very strongly rotating wall cloud at this point, and this thunderstorm again could be capable of producing a tornado at any time. So those of you in central portions of Hamilton County need to take your tornado safety precautions. This is going to include places like Pottsville, Whiteway, Almond, Ferry, Indian Gap, and the city of Hamilton. As you can see, this has a well-defined hook echo on radar. The which way the wind's blowing mode clearly organized, showing a very good velocity signature. We note the storm developing near Goldwaith is also doing the exact same thing. So that may end up becoming a problem here as well. Good news is, in terms of stuff farther to the north, at this point, there isn't any. If we can get lucky, this may be a day where we have the biggest hail, the tornado threat remaining south of the Metroplex like Wednesday, but it does look like we are going to see additional thunderstorms this evening around the Metroplex that could produce some smaller hail and a lot of cloud-to-ground lightning. But we're here now because we have a tornado warning. This is going to be for central Hamilton County until 2:15. You can see very well-defined hook echo here. Well-defined velocity signature, the which way the wind's blowing mode. So this could drop a tornado again at any time, which is why folks in Hamilton, folks from Pottsville to Hamilton East on, what is that? That's going to be... Sorry, I'm still getting set up here. You can probably tell I was taking a nap. And obviously you can tell, apparently my allergies have kicked in today, which is unfortunate, but you know what? It's April. That's bound to happen. So again, this is going to be Pottsville. You could have golf ball, baseball size hail right now. East on Farm to Market 218 to Hamilton. This is generally moving east at about 20 miles an hour towards Hamilton, which means the potential will be there for hail in Hamilton. Highest tornado threat right now south of FM 218, just east of FM 1047. And again, this storm is generally moving east towards the city of Hamilton. Sorry, I'm just getting set up here. Okay, so you can see your gold wave, we have that new severe thunderstorm warning. Again, these storms that go up could start producing hail very quickly. And then obviously this storm in Hamilton County went from nothing to tornado producing within 30 minutes of initiation. Now, the good news is if we can keep these storms firing up quickly in a line like this, that'll help reduce the overall tornado threat. It won't kill it, but it'll reduce it, while also hopefully allowing these storms not to start dropping, uh, softball size hail. So again, what we have right now is we have a strongly rotating wall cloud on this thunderstorm southwest of Hamilton. This is going to be south of Pottsville, south of Hamilton for now, the circulation at least. There's hail galore on FM 218. Circulation about 5 miles south of Pottsville now. And this is going to be moving east towards Hamilton. What we might see here at some point is this thunderstorm turning a little more to the southeast. And what that may do is keep Hamilton out of the circulation, but that's just something we're going to have to keep an eye on. Over the next several hours, we're going to see rapid thunderstorm development occur across portions of North Texas, Central Texas, the Hill Country, all the way down to the Edwards Plateau. And we're probably going to see a pretty gnarly line of thunderstorms fire up, which will be capable of some hail, some big hail perhaps, damaging straight line winds, and the potential that we could have a few tornadoes. And again, storms are generally going to be moving east, and then eventually we're going to see them in the next few hours start moving southeast. We're here now because we have a tornado warning for Hamilton County until 2:15 p.m. for a thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado about 5 to 6 miles south of Pottsville. This circulation is going to be about 10 miles southwest of Hamilton. We've got hail falling on FM 218 down towards Pottsville, and then just southwest of Hamilton, we could have hail in Hamilton. Pretty quickly. Okay, so what we've had just happen was, if you've been paying attention to the radar, we've seen a bit of a transformation here. We're starting to get some storm interference from the other storms developing to the southwest. That hook echo kind of reformed, and now you can see we have a circulation on radar right about there, where we have a new rotating wall cloud. This is generally going to be moving like this now, I believe, so this should keep the tornado threat south of Hamilton, south of Pottsville, south of FM 218. But this is going to result in the circulation eventually moving towards Highway 281 between Evant and Hamilton. We have no reports that a tornado's down right now, which is good. But again, That's a tornado warning for Hamilton County until 2:15 p.m. in southern North Texas. All right, since we have a bunch of people joining, let's go ahead and take the opportunity to look at the expectations for storms today. Let me zoom out. Let's pull up the latest high-resolution rapid refresh model. We're going to pop it to 3 p.m. And again, this is what the model thinks we're going to have at 3 o'clock, which isn't overly unrealistic, so we'll go with that. Let's see 2 o'clock. You could see, yeah, it's not too bad. It may be a little late on the development of storms. These did develop pretty quickly. But anyway, we can at least tell you what's going to happen in terms of timing aspects and locations. You can see by 4 o'clock, we're going to have a broken line of storms all the way from the Edwards Plateau northeast up through the Hill Country, North Texas. Some of these storms getting closer to DFW for what it's worth. Although, like Wednesday, the worst should stay south of the Metroplex. As you can see, by 6 o'clock, we've got a couple storms around DFW, North Texas. Could have some hail with those. Smaller hail, hopefully. We got a line of storms moving it southeast quickly into the Brazos Valley, north of Bryan College Station, down to the city of Austin, just north of Bexar County, all the way south now of Eagle Pass in the Edwards Plateau. The strongest of these storms, again, capable of large hail, damaging wind gust. The potential for a few tornadoes. For those of you wondering, the Rangers game, the stadium roof's going to be closed, so the weather really won't matter too much, at least in terms of gameplay. Although, obviously, if you end up having some sort of hail nearby, that's not going to be the most pleasant experience. Here is 8 o'clock. Storms continuing to move southeast into South Texas. South Central Texas, moving into the coastal plains, southern Brazos Valley, southeast Texas, roughly from Laredo to Yoakum to near Conroe. But also notice we have additional storms north of this line across portions of North Texas, East Texas, Northeast Texas. And while those will be less intense than the main line of storms farther south, some of those could still have a bit of hail. Here is 10 o'clock this evening. You can see line of storms approaching the upper and middle Texas coasts. Already through Houston, still in Houston to Victoria, just northwest of Corpus Christi, to Beeville, to Freer. And again, this is a bit faster than what we were expecting in this morning's forecast, but you know what? At least that means we'll be done faster. And here you can see by midnight, we've got the line of storms moving off the middle and upper Texas coasts. We still have a few storms back in North and East Texas with some heavy rainfall, maybe a bit of hail, and a lot of cloud-to-ground lightning. Here's 2 a.m. You can see we still got some scattered showers with the severe weather threat at this point confined to deep South Texas, the Rio Grande Valley. So we started early, but that means we're also going to finish a bit early. In terms of storm development, you can see we're already starting to fire up a broken line of thunderstorms from near Hamilton to Gold Lake to San Saba. And again, once these storms are in a line, that'll hopefully help keep the threat for some of the big-time hail, baseball, softball size, hopefully lower that threat a bit, also help keep the overall tornado threat more isolated / sporadic versus, what we've had so far, which is this one Hamilton storm pop up, and within 30 minutes it's capable of producing a tornado. But the good news is, as long as this thunderstorm is being interfered with these other storms, hopefully, that means the highest tornado threat has already come and gone. That being said, obviously the storm is still capable of producing a tornado, and a tornado warning remains in effect until 2:45 now for southern Hamilton and northwestern Corral counties in central Texas. At 1:59 p.m., a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado is located 10 miles southwest of Hamilton, moving east at 25 miles an hour. It's moving more east-southeast, probably. At present speed, this will be near Evant by 2:20 p.m., though we note additional storms west of Evant there on Highway 84 are developing. Could be some hail with those, and those are generally moving off to the east as well. Other locations in this tornado warning for portions of Hamilton and Correll counties include Permella, South Permella, Whiteway, Alman, and Ireland. But you notice additional storms firing up pretty quickly, and in fact, if I turn on the satellite, we should be able to see a line of towering cumulus. Give me just a second. And I'm willing to bet we'll be able to see that towering cumulus. And indeed, there you go. This is satellite data live within the last 60 seconds. This actually updates more frequently than the radar. You can see here from Junction all the way back north a line of towering cumulus where we're likely to see thunderstorm development occur as this line unzips further to the southwest over the next 2 hours or so. And again, we'll zoom back out here in North Texas. You can see even though we have cloud cover, we're probably still going to see additional showers and storms fire up in North Texas late this afternoon into this evening, capable of producing some pocket change size hail, some localized damaging wind, well, probably just pocket change size hail, cloud to ground lightning, and some heavy rainfall across North Texas and Northeast Texas. If I switch this product really quick, let me turn off that, we'll hit that, and I'll just load a loop over the last hour. And you'll be able to see this is what the radar and the satellite looks like over the last hour. You can see how quickly these thunderstorms have begun developing across portions of central Texas, western central Texas, and how this towering cumulus is becoming more bubbly as you get down towards Mason and Junction on Interstate 10, which means we're likely going to see additional activity develop. And this activity will likely form into thunderstorms over the next couple of hours. That'll begin moving southeast pretty quickly towards Interstate 35 by dinner time. Back to the southwest, over the Rio Grande into the boroughs here in Mexico. You can see we're seeing towering cumulus as well. And I mention this because we're going to have to watch this activity for the possibility of supercellular development in Mexico that could move across the Rio Grande into the Edwards Plateau. So that is one aspect we're going to have to watch there, and that activity would move east. But you can also see this cold front further north moving south. In fact, pretty cool cloud formations here. You can see the surface cool front because of the cloud line moving south with those clouds generally near the surface blowing from north to south, but also the upper level clouds moving to the northeast. It's a pretty cool look. But again, as long as we can keep these storms developing into a line pretty quickly, that's going to help keep the overall tornado threat lower and also allow these thunderstorms, hopefully not, to produce super-size hail. But we're going to have to keep an eye on it. For what it's worth, the Weather Service in Fort Worth has just put out a statement, quote, "Severe thunderstorms will track east-southeast, bringing the potential for very large hail, damaging wind gusts, and tornadoes to locations across portions of central Texas. Locations such as Clifton, Evant, Gatesville, Waco, Temple, Killeen, Fort Hood, and Marlin need to be making preparations and be ready to act if a warning is issued." So again, they're talking about this little cluster of storms developing. And they're going to be moving like so through 5 o'clock. And keep in mind, currently capable of very large hail, damaging winds, and the potential for a few tornadoes. All right, got that set up. So it is 2:08 p.m. on the 28th of April, 2023. Good afternoon. I'm Texas Storm Chaser's David-Reimer. We are in the midst of severe weather coverage across portions of central Texas with a early start to the day. But hopefully that means we'll also have a quick end to the day. These thunderstorms moving off to the southeast. Currently east-southeast at about 25 miles an hour. Let's get back to the radar, and again, we've got a circulation north of Evant now. This is going to be more of a threat to areas closer to Evant than Hamilton, so Hamilton, you are clear from this tornado warning as this thunderstorm has taken a jog to the south. Back over to the how hard it's raining mode. This thunderstorm producing very large hail at the moment south of Hamilton, near and just south of the airport. North of Evant right now on Cowhouse Creek Stream. We've probably got some nasty hail there. Schoolerville Road. County Road 509 there in Hamilton County. Moving down towards Farm to Market 2414. And again, this is a threat to Hamilton, but we note at this point, this could also become a direct threat to Gatesville. For those of you wondering about the forecast for your neck of the woods today, how we do severe weather coverage typically is we're going to focus on the most life-threatening storms. We will be talking about the overall expectations from time to time, but for that information, you can download the free Texas Storm Chasers mobile app. Texas Storm Chasers Google Play Apple App Store. It has your local weather forecast down to your neighborhood, interactive weather radar, live storm chasing video, and our live severe weather coverage. In terms of severe weather watches, we'll turn those on. We've got two at the moment. We've got a severe thunderstorm watch through 8 p.m. This includes Sherman, the DFW Metroplex, back west of Mineral Wells, south to roughly the Highway 67 corridor from Stephenville to Cleburne up to Midlothian. Also includes Ellis and Navarro counties out east towards Kaufman, Terrell, Greenville, up to Bonham. That's a severe thunderstorm watch. We could have some hail, $quarter to $half size hail, with storms that fire up a bit later on this afternoon in North Texas. Further to the south, we have a tornado watch until 8 p.m. This is where we have a more unstable air mass near the surface, and we have the potential for a few severe storms to produce tornadoes. There we go. And we've already had thunderstorm development occur there. We're likely to see a new severe thunderstorm watch issued soon. That will include the Edwards Plateau, the Hill Country, into portions of south central Texas, likely including Austin, San Antonio. And that severe watch will probably be coming shortly. So again, it is 2:12. I'm Texas Storm Chaser's BaldyinChief David-Reimer. My butt being kicked by allergies, apparently, but at least it makes for a more interesting, somewhat deep voice effect. We are here because we have a tornado warning. This is going to be for portions of southern Hamilton and northwestern Carroll counties. This tornado warning includes Evant. It no longer includes Hamilton. So Hamilton, you're clear from this tornado warning. We have a circulation attempting to produce a new tornado now approaching approaching Highway 281 just north of Evant. You can see that circulation here is becoming more organized on the radar. We have winds in the green moving towards the radar down in Granger/Fort Hood. Winds in the red and pink moving away. So as that circulation becomes more defined and more intense, the potential for a tornado to be produced in the next several minutes is increasing. And this storm is moving east at 25 miles an hour, meaning those of you in Gatesville over to I-35 from Waco to Temple, you're under the gun within the next 2 to 3 hours, and additional thunderstorms are forming. So again, we have a circulation capable of producing a tornado coming up on Highway 281 just north of Evant. This could put a tornado down at any time. A very strong low-level circulation now. Strongest we've honestly seen today. So this could be a tornado in the generation phase. Given that, let's go ahead and put some roads on here. We'll try to get a little more local information. Again, this is going to be Highway 281, which isn't showing up as 281 between Hamilton and Evant for some reason, but it's 281. You've got County Road 522 there, County Road 419. And again, this thunderstorm could produce tornado. You can see a very well-defined circulation now with this thunderstorm. And this storm is moving east-southeast at about 25 miles an hour. And as that continues, we're going to have to keep a very close eye on it. As we switch back over to the how hard it's raining mode, you can see a high precipitation supercell structure. That means the circulation is wrapped up in a lot of rain, making the visual elements of trying to see the tornado much more difficult. So there may be a rain-wrapped tornado there that folks simply cannot see. The good news is, for now, this is staying just north of Evant, but Evant is still in the tornado warning. Sounds like we may have a tornado almost in progress. And again, we're live streaming on multiple platforms. And you can also watch our free interactive, our live coverage in our free mobile app at Texas Storm Chasers on the Google Play and Apple app stores. Interactive weather radar on our website, texasstormchasers.com/radar. And we also have a pretty, thank you, Jason, a forecast video up, multiple forecast videos up on our website and mobile app and our YouTube channels that explain our expectations for storms today into this evening with timing information. So folks asking about that, well, good news, we provide those resources so y'all are able to get that information for your neck of the woods specifically. Best way to do that is in the Texas Storm Chasers mobile app or on the Texas Storm Chasers website. Texas Storm Chasers mobile app in the Google Play and Apple app stores. Just search for Texas Storm Chasers. So again, we've got a tornado warning, a possible tornado just north of Evant on Highway 281. This is going to be moving close to County Road 419, crossing over the Cowhouse Creek stream as this moves east-southeast, eventually becoming a threat to Highway 84 and Arnett, which is west of Gatesville. All right, we've got a tornado warning update at 2:16 p.m. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado is located near or just north of Evant, moving east-southeast at 35 miles an hour, so the speed's increased a bit. This storm is currently 12 miles south of Hamilton. In addition to the potential of a tornado, this thunderstorm is also capable of producing large, damaging hail. This tornado warning includes Permella, South Permella, Almond, Ireland, and is generally moving towards Arnett. We've got a very strong gate-to-gate circulation now on the radar. We'll see that update here in just a moment, but the potential certainly there for a tornado to occur at any time. Storm spotters. Ooh, that was a sneeze. Storm spotters are reporting a funnel cloud nearing the ground about 1 to 2 miles north of Evant. And this is going to be moving east-southeast at 35 miles an hour. So, assuming that continues, let's put a storm track on it. Also, keeping in mind we have additional thunderstorms forming farther to the south, which we'll look at here in a bit. So, about 35 miles an hour now. This would place the storm in Gatesville shortly before 3 p.m. This would place it in Arnett at 2:45 p.m. This tornado warning no longer includes Hamilton. If you're in Hamilton, you're clear from this tornado warning. If you are in places like Jonesboro, you're fine from this. This could eventually pose a direct threat to Gatesville. And should the storm continue, this is going to be a direct threat to Interstate 35 for places like Waco all the way down to Temple and Belton. Our chasers are currently reporting a large cone funnel approaching the surface 1 to 2 miles northeast of Evant. And again, this storm is moving to the southeast at about 35 miles an hour. So we've seen that accelerate a bit. All right, let's zoom out. We're going to take a look at what we have going on now. You can see that we had no storms, and then suddenly we had storms. Better view. We'll do it this way. Here's a look at the radar over the last couple hours. You can see storms rapidly exploded across the eastern Concho Valley, western central Texas, and these storms are now moving east-southeast at about 30 to 35 miles an hour. As they continue to do so, you can see on the satellite image, we're starting to see bubbles in the clouds all the way back southwest towards Junction on Interstate 10. So we're expecting additional thunderstorms to unzip along this cool front as it moves to the southeast. Also seeing storms developing now in northern Mexico. Those could pose a direct threat to the Edwards Plateau. So let me go ahead and circle what I think is going to happen. We're going to have a line here. It's going to move like this as it continues to develop over the next several hours. And then we're also going to see some storms out here. These are currently moving more like that. Strongest storms are going to be capable of producing large to destructive hail, damaging straight-line winds of 70 to 80 miles an hour, the potential for a few tornadoes. Today's overall tornado threat is not high, but obviously there is the potential for the occasional tornado warning. Heading back over to the which way the wind's blowing mode near Evant, we're seeing a very strong rear flank downdraft surge around on this circulation. This could bring very strong winds into Evant over the next several minutes to potentially 60, 75 miles an hour. Northwesterly winds on the south side of the circulation, while the current indications for any sort of tornado mischief currently just northeast of Evant, but again, very strong winds on the back side of the circulation moving into Evant right now. So we head back farther to the southwest. You can see we've got storms firing up. These are going to be moving east-southeast. And we also have a new severe thunderstorm watch that has been issued for portions of the Hill Country, Central Texas, South Central Texas, into the Edwards Plateau. This is a severe thunderstorm watch until 9 p.m. this evening. That does include places like Eagle Pass, Uvalde, Kerrville, San Antonio, Pleasanton, New Braunfels, Kyle, Austin, Round Rock, Georgetown, Burnett, Bastrop, LaGrange, Llano, Fredericksburg, Kerrville, Brackettville, Divine, Crystal City, Kennedy. All right, I'm done using that voice. So again, back to the one tornado warning we have, and this is going to be a storm not showing, or is showing a very nasty straight line wind signature now from the rear flank downdraft coming into Evant. And again, this storm could have 60, 70 plus mile an hour winds here with this surge of wind coming through Evant now, crossing over Highway 84. This is going to start moving more east-southeast, and eventually these storms are going to be moving southeast at 30 to 40 miles an hour, like so. And as that occurs, that will increase the potential for severe weather by 4 to 5 p.m. along Interstate 35 from Waco to Temple to Georgetown to Austin, though that may be closer to 6 p.m. Oh, Jason, good to know that those element displays apparently are not displaying correct. Oh, no, they are displaying correctly. Thank you. So again, we have severe storms capable of producing damaging winds, hail, and in the case of Evant, possibility of a rain-wrapped tornado now about 2 to 3 miles northeast of Evant. And this is going to be moving east-southeast. At about 35 miles an hour. And as it does so, we're seeing these a pretty nasty straight line wind signature. I realize the radar is having some de-aliasing issues on this product, but where the colors go from green to holy moly guacamole, angry, angry doom doom, that's where we're seeing winds of 60, 70 plus miles an hour right now on the backside of this circulation. A big old push of wind and hail and heavy rainfall now on Highway 84. This is going to be probably about 2 to 3 miles east of Evant. And as this occurs, we're going to have to see if this is able to spin up a new circulation and result in a tornado. But again, this is going to be a situation where we have a lot of rain and hail wrapping around the circulation and essentially obscuring it visually. Just had a report from fire department out of Hamilton of 3-inch diameter hail. So this was a bit earlier with this thunderstorm, but apparently this thunderstorm produced 3-inch diameter hail near Hamilton a bit earlier. That is larger than the size of a baseball. A baseball is 2 3/4 inches in diameter, so that's larger than a baseball. A softball is 4 inches in diameter. A grapefruit is 4.5 inches in diameter. A tennis ball is 2.5 inches in diameter. A golf ball is 1 3/4 inches in diameter. So on and so forth. I could keep going for a while, but I'm not going to. So again, it is 2:28 p.m. Friday, the 28th of April, 2023, our last severe weather threat for a while. And it's going to be a busy afternoon and evening as a line of thunderstorms is going to quickly continue developing and march southeast towards the Texas coast. What we're going to do now is we're going to take a look at the high-res rapid refresh model, so we can get a peek at what we can expect tonight. And that way, those of you who are watching now will be able to answer the questions of all those asking, when is the storm going to hit my blade of grass in my backyard? So again, let's back up. We're going to go to 3 o'clock. And again, this model is not perfect. You can see where it may be off a bit, but nevertheless, it's still going to give a good timing aspect and a good timing element. So let's go to 4 o'clock. You can see a line of thunderstorms. Waco, Fort Hood and Killeen, Burnett, down to near Fredericksburg, moving southeast at 30 to 40 miles an hour. At 5 o'clock, storms could be we could have a few storms in the Metroplex, weaker than their counterparts further south, but capable of some heavy rain, lightning, maybe a bit of hail. And those storms in North Texas moving off to the northeast. These storms further south in this line will continue moving east-southeast at 30 to 40 miles an hour. And again, this is what the radar may look like at 5 o'clock. We also have the potential for a few supercells in the Edwards Plateau. By 5 o'clock, I would expect the highest potential for baseball to softball size hail to be with these thunderstorms out by themselves in portions of the Edwards Plateau. Here is 7 o'clock. You could see, well, here, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. Notice we have a few storms back in North Texas. These could have a bit of hail with them as they move northeast, while the main line of storms further south is moving southeast at 30 to 40 miles an hour, maybe a bit more quickly. 8 o'clock. 9 o'clock. 10 p.m. this evening. 11 p.m. Storms approaching the middle and upper Texas coast, Corpus Christi, near Galveston Island. Still capable of some hail, damaging straight line winds, can't rule out spin-up tornado. Midnight, moving off the coast. We still have some storms continuing in east-northeast Texas, maybe a bit of pocket change size hail. Heavy rainfall, cloud-to-ground lightning. 1 a.m. That stuff continues there in east-northeast Texas. A couple of storms possible in South Texas, the Rio Grande Valley. We're going to have to watch those and see if they're capable of producing hail and damaging straight-line winds at that time. 2 a.m. 3 a.m. 4 a.m. Saturday. At this point, the severe weather threat is long over. We still have showers, a couple of storms in northeast Texas, the Arklatex, down into the Brazos Valley, East Texas, Southeast Texas, and the coastal plains. 5 a.m., 6 a.m., and there you go. So, if I were to loop this, and here you go for a loop-de-loop-de. For what the radar may look like through the afternoon, through the evening, and into the overnight hours this evening into Saturday morning. Our main severe weather threat is going to be now through about midnight, it looks like, with the possibility of damaging straight line winds being the most common hazard with that line of storms once it grows upscale. But while we have individual storm structures, the potential will continue for large to very large hail, and the potential for a few tornadoes. So there you go. Now that we've played this animation and talked through it a few times. Thank you, John. Let me fix that. So now that we've played these a few times, y'all will be able to answer each other's questions in terms of timing for those folks who were not present at the time I showed this. There you go. Now you're going to know when it's going to rain when it's going to rain. Oh, this isn't Fortnite. When it's going to rain on your specific blade of grass in your backyard. But as always, you can get that information directly in the free Texas Storm Chasers mobile app. Just search for Texas Storm Chasers in the Google Play and Apple App stores. And the Google Play and Apple App Store. Yeah, that makes sense in my head. Anyway, here's the radar over the last several hours. You can see cold front moving south across the big country, Permian Basin, North Texas. You can see that with this northward moving cloud movement. We've got some more rain in the Panhandle, West Texas. Nothing severe with that, just a cold rain, beneficial rain. There we go. Thank you, not only for the super chat, but for giving me the opportunity to make sure I have that in the correct place on the screen. So again, this is what radars look like over the last couple of hours. You can see we fired these storms up faster than a hot dog selling out at the ballpark tonight. And these storms are going to continue building southwest, as you can see here on radar, as this line unzips. We also have a couple of individual storms firing up in northern Mexico that could move across the Rio Grande and into the Edwards Plateau with the threat of some big hail. All right, so with that being said, what we're going to do now is focus on the most intense storms, as we always try to do. So let's get back to it. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado, baseball-size hail, winds of 70 to 80 miles an hour is now located on Highway 84, halfway between Evant and Arnett. This thunderstorm is also showing the potential for rear flank downdraft winds of 80 to 90 miles an hour. This thunderstorm is moving east-southeast now at 25 miles per hour to 35 miles per hour. This is a very intense thunderstorm. Let's go ahead. What I'm going to do is, first off, make sure all my cities are displayed. There we go. Thank you. Merry Christmas. Happy birthday. So this is the which way the wind's blowing mode, and the winds are strong enough now. The radars, or this software, is having issues de-aliasing it. That's why it goes from, that pink to super purple of doom. Let me see if I can't fix that real quick. Yeah, you can kind of see it fixed there, but again, the radar is showing winds over 80 miles an hour in the rear flank downdraft with a pretty large circulation. This is a storm capable of producing tornadoes, and our storm chasers, Ben McCone, Stephen Jones, Trey Greenwood, have reported that there have been brief tornadoes with this thunderstorm over the last 30 to 45 minutes. They're actually conducting a storm chasing tour at the moment, so they are not able to broadcast live video, but they're still able to provide us with reports, and I mean, they're still recording video, so it'll be up on our YouTube channel later. Oh, excuse me, I did not have a chance to grab my coffee or caffeine, but oh, mama mercy, let me tell you now, that is spooky. So again, radar detecting winds of, in this circulation, very strong circulation now, just southwest of Arnett. Thank you, Sarah. Appreciate that. And the storm could produce a tornado at any time. And again, this is moving southeast at about 25 miles an hour. This currently is located about 3 to 4 miles west of Arnett. And this storm is capable of producing a tornado, baseball-size hail, winds of 70 to 80 miles an hour at least. And again, this is moving to the east-southeast now. Southeast. This is probably going to stay the circulation at least, probably going to pass south of Gatesville, but could be a threat to Pitcoke. And all this is going to end up being a threat to Interstate 35 during the evening rush hour, including places like San Antonio, New Braunfels, Austin, Round Rock, Georgetown, Salado, Belton, maybe Waco. And you're not going to want to be in your cars for that. Again, I'll just put the loopy version back on so you can see some motion elements. And here's just a look at the last hour. And this thing really may be trying to put a tornado down. We've got bells screaming over here, bells and alarms and whistles all going off saying this thing's trying to spin up. So we're going to do, let's go back to this. And again, very strong circulation now developing and continuing to organize on radar. This is now south of Highway 84, about 3 miles southwest of Arnett, almost right on the Cowhouse Creek stream there. And again, what we're looking at is the which way the wind's blowing mode. Arnett is right about there. You got winds moving towards the storm inflow, away from the radar in pink and red. Winds moving towards the radar in Granger, Fort Hood. Thank you. And thank you for making me notice I need to fix that text. I'm going to try to do that real quick without breaking this. Layout's still a work in progress. I promise it's going to be prettier at some point again, but unfortunately, it seems the only way for us to make that look good is to have it tested in real time. All right, we've got a new tornado warning until 3:15. This is going to be for Carroll County. At 2:40 p.m., a severe storm was capable of producing a tornado 12 miles west of Gatesville, about 3 miles southwest of Arnett. This storm is moving east-southeast at 40 miles an hour, so the forward rate of motion continues to accelerate. This tornado warning includes places like Fort Gates, Mother Neff State Park, South Mountain, Oldsby, Permella, Leon Junction, Levita, South Permella, King, Mound, and Flat. This tornado warning is a threat to the city of Gatesville. This is a threat to Fort Gates, South Mountain, Leon Junction, Flat, Pitcoke, Oldsby, The Grove. So those of you in Gatesville, you need to take your tornado safety precautions all the way down FM 116 to Pitcoke. This is going to be a problem for both of y'all here shortly. So the storm is now moving east-southeast at 40 miles an hour. As it continues to occur, the circulation may stay south of Gatesville if this storm continues tracking more to the southeast, but Gatesville could get in on the baseball-size hail. In terms of the which way the wind's blowing mode, you can see we have a very strong surge of wind on the backside of the circulation, perhaps over 80 miles an hour. And the circulation itself is continuing to try to spin up at times. It would be right here. Very near or just southwest of Highway 84 near Arnett. This all is very strong rear flank downdraft winds coming down the backside of the circulation, like this, towards the radar in Granger. This, red, this is going to be your inflow, and this is where it's all trying to converge and rotate. And again, we've had brief tornadoes reported by our storm chasers over the last 30 minutes, but nothing that has been solidly down. And again, I know North Texas DFW is quiet right now. We're probably going to have some storms a bit later this afternoon into this evening that could have some pocket change size hail. I'm optimistic and hopeful we can go without, baseballs. Hopefully, please. Etc. So again, we have one tornado warning, and hopefully we won't have too many tornado warnings today as these storms start to grow upscale into a squall line. What we have right now is a very dangerous area of wind, potentially a tornado, but also very strong winds on the backside of the circulation that could be exceeding 85 miles an hour, moving towards Pidcoke. Well, thank you very much, Amy. And these storms are moving southeast at about 40 miles an hour now, east-southeast. So those of you in Pidcoke, Gatesville, Leon Junction, The Grove, you need to be in a safe place. It's going to be lowest floor, center room, away from windows. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. So we zoom back out and take a look at the state view. You're going to be able to see off the radar and satellite data that we are seeing additional activity develop. In fact, I'll switch this to that, and that'll give us an even better high-res look with minute-by-minute satellite data. You can see we've got storms firing up in northern Mexico pretty quickly, and those could move east across the Rio Grande into the Edwards Plateau over the next couple of hours. We have severe thunderstorm watches in effect for the Edwards Plateau, south-central Texas, the Hill Country, through 9 p.m. Blue box is a severe thunderstorm watch until 9 p.m. Austin, all the Hill Country, Central Texas, South Central Texas, the Edwards Plateau, Eagle Pass, all the way through San Antonio, Austin, Round Rock, Burnett, Bastrop, LaGrange. This small yellow box, thank you, David, is going to be a tornado watch until 8 p.m. This is for a sliver of Central Texas. And then a severe thunderstorm watch through 8 p.m. for North Texas and Texoma. Nothing going on there right now, but there's probably going to be some storms. That develop over the next few hours. I'm going to move that box up here. So next time that happens, we're going to have to see how that works. But I'll adjust that as time goes on. Okay, back to the tornado warning. Another scan, another pretty nasty looking circulation now. This is going to be about 2 miles south of Arnett. The potential there for a rain-wrapped tornado. You can see on the how hard it's raining mode, that little hook appendage swinging back around. We have a lot of precipitation around this circulation, which means it may be hard to sight visually. Very dangerous to chase these storms, and if you don't know what you're doing with rain-wrapped circulations, this is how we end up with people getting hit by tornadoes, and then those people trying to make it big on YouTube by posting the video and acting like it was the greatest thing ever. Hint, driving into a rain-wrapped tornado is not the greatest thing ever as a storm chaser. If you know what you're doing and you're a storm chaser and you do that, that just means you're an idiot. Obviously, folks not trained in or experienced in storm chasing means they, well, you're not generally going to know it's a tornado because it's wrapped in heavy rain. But still, it's a very dangerous situation for that. So again, Arnett's right about there. That's Highway 84. Strong circulation capable of producing a rain-wrapped tornado in addition to damaging straight-line winds. Moving, honestly, probably like that. But again, those of you in Gatesville, Fort Gates, you're in this tornado warning, which means you need to be in a safe place. That's going to be lowest floor, center room. Thank you. Good to know. I didn't know those could actually have text captions. I'm going to have to adjust the layout here a bit later to fit that in. For now, I'll just stick it back down there. But thank you. And again, this potential tornado. For those weather weenies who may be listening, or if our chasers are listening, NROD is now up to 2.7, indicating a very strong circulation. That's just another way to measure the amount of a circulation intensity. And there's the latest scan there. And let me fix this real quick. Thank you, Brad. Let me fix that. Yeah, I'm going to have to go mess with these layouts in a bit. Krista, post in the weather chat, and I'll bop you up there as a moderator. Thank you, ma'am. So again, that is circulation southwest of Gatesville. That's going to stay well southwest of Gatesville. And this thunderstorm is going to continue moving to the southeast at about 40 miles an hour. All right, back over to this. I'm going to pop my... Go with that. Can make that look pretty. Thank you for the stars, by the way. I'm just getting my stuff set up on some of these other monitors so I can keep an eye on things. And this storm that's going to pass southwest of Gatesville is about to cross over FM 116. That's not 116. It might be, yeah, FM 116. The potential for very strong winds and the potential for a tornado. Chasers, if you're listening, NROD up to 3.1. So this thing's definitely trying to put a rain-wrapped tornado down. And again, if there ends up being a tornado, it's probably going to be heavily wrapped in rain. This possible tornado is going to stay well southwest of Gatesville. Gatesville proper may get in on hail, though. So I would recommend staying in shelter. No travel recommended on FM 116 south of 82. And generally speaking, this is moving towards the north side of Fort Hood. Present course, this is going to move towards Fort Hood, and then could be a direct threat to Temple, Belton, Morgan's Point Resort by 4 p.m. to 3:45 p.m., 3:45 to 4 p.m. It could be a direct threat to Belton, Temple, Moffett, Harker Heights, Morgan's Point Resort, Belton, The Grove, Fort Hood, northern sides of Killeen. And again, this storm is moving to the southeast. And again, we're focusing on the most intense storms. Understand, I know we have more storms out there. Texas has 254 counties, but we have to focus on the most life-threatening storms. And these storms are going to move over Interstate 35 across central Texas and south central Texas during the evening rush hour, capable of hail, big hail, damaging winds, the potential for a few tornadoes. It would not be a bad idea to plan on staying where you are a bit late this evening as these storms approach. You do not want to be stuck on the interstate. So again, what could be a rain-wrapped tornado now on FM 116 southwest of Gatesville, about 5 miles northeast of Pidcoke. This thunderstorm is capable of producing not only a rain-wrapped tornado, but a very strong rear flank downdraft, showing winds of nearly, well, on this product, it's de-aliasing. On mine, this thunderstorm is capable of, sorry, I'm looking at data. Frankly, the radar, what I'm trying to tell you is we've got rear flank downdraft winds. Radar showing winds moving towards the radar now at 135 miles an hour. Winds moving away at about 40 miles an hour. So we have a very strong, almost violent circulation now. If there's not a tornado, this thing's trying to do some really bad things. So those of you southwest of Gatesville, south of Highway 84, Fort Gates down to Flat, you need to be in a safe place now. Those of you coming up on Highway 36 south of Gatesville, no travel on Highway 36 between, at this point, Temple and Gatesville. A very dangerous thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado. Destructive straight-line winds, and baseball-size hail. And again, this thing is probably wrapped in a ridiculous amount of heavy rain, but an extremely potent circulation now on FM 116, moving towards Old Georgetown Road, Tank Trail, as we get into north sides of Fort Hood. So again, as we get into northern aspects of Fort Hood, thank you, Raymond. Let me fix that. This storm could be producing a tornado now on the north side of Fort Hood. As that continues, boy. So again, with this thunderstorm currently showing extremely potent winds over north sides of Fort Hood now, just east of County or FM 116, we've got winds moving towards the, or excuse me, let's rephrase that. We've got winds moving away from the radar at Fort Hood / Granger, moving away at about 85 miles an hour. Winds moving towards at about 90 miles an hour. So over a 160 to 170 mile an hour circulation, what could honestly be a pretty significant rain-wrapped tornado now, just east of FM 116. This is going to be 7 miles southwest of Fort Gates, or about 8 miles southwest of Gatesville, moving southeast at 30 to 40 miles an hour. At present course, this storm is going to be over Fort Hood for a while, paralleling Highway 36 as it moves southeast towards Temple, Belton, Morgan's Point Resort, maybe the north sides of Killeen. Even if we don't have a tornado down, this thing is producing a significant amount of damaging to destructive hurricane force winds on northern sides of Fort Hood that could eventually be an issue for places like Belton and Temple in about 45 to 60 minutes. We've got additional storms developing back southwest now. I'll press this button. You see here storms firing up quickly. Main storm motion with this line is going to be east-southeast. Thank you. Thank you very much. There we go. Appreciate those stars and super chats. Rotation now with that storm. 90 miles an hour moving away from the radar. About 85 towards, so we now have a 180 mile an hour circulation over north sides of Fort Hood. It's getting stronger now. 105 away. Yeah, look. Let me tell you. We're gonna have to stop this and just look at this and hope this actually is over rural areas, folks. This thing is pissed. We've got a violent circulation. We've got winds moving away from the radar at least 90 miles an hour. Winds moving towards the radar at least 90 miles an hour. Very clear-cut hook echo. What could be a significant tornado underway over Royalty Ridge Road and Old Georgetown Road. This is going to be southwest of Fort Gates, south of Gatesville, moving away from Gatesville, moving southeast. This is just south of the Owl Creek Stream, passing northeast of Pidcoke. What could be a significant tornado in progress now, rain-wrapped, moving southeast at 30 to 40 miles an hour. It remains to be determined if this storm's still going to be producing tornadoes when it gets to Belton and Temple by 4 p.m., if not a bit sooner, but severe weather is likely, whether that be in the form of damaging wind and hail, or damaging wind, hail, and the possibility of a tornado. And again, this thing has a violent circulation. Let me get rid of that. So again, this is southwest of Fort Gates, northeast of Pidcoke, well south of Gatesville, moving away from Gatesville, southeast at about 40 miles an hour, 6 to 7 miles southwest of Gatesville, about 5 to 6 miles southwest of Fort Gates. This is about 9 miles west of Flat. This is about 11 miles west of Leon Junction. 6 to 7 miles northeast of Pidcoke. And again, this storm is moving southeast at about 40 miles an hour. Very, very, very intense circulation on radar. What could be a significant tornado if we have one in progress. And again, there's the latest information on that. And there, I mean, it's not good when you have super bright pink against bright purple. So again, a very strong, intense circulation. Generally speaking, this storm, I mean, here, even on the radar, the how hard it's raining mode, you can see this thing's wrapped up. So folks, it probably is. And we are lucky this is over mainly rural areas, because this is probably a big tornado wrapped in heavy rain. Look at this. It's wrapping around itself. So again, this is on Fort Hood now. And it's going to stay that way for a while until we get closer to Belton and Temple. And it's moving like this. And again, those of you in Belton, Temple, Morgan's Point Resort, you've got 45 to 50 minutes. Get ready for impactful severe weather. As this storm, which is likely producing a strong tornado at this point, is on Fort Hood, moving southeast at about 30 miles an hour. Oh. Off. All right, let's look out, since that's over the base right now. Let's take a look at what we have going on across the rest of the state at the moment. Again, this is just over the last 2 hours. And I'll knock it down to just an hour for simplicity's sake. You can see we've got some storms trying to fire up in the northern Mexico. Those could move across the Rio Grande into the Edwards Plateau. The potential for big hail and strong winds with those. And then we've got this line of storms now making progress to the east-southeast. It's going to impact I-35 from Waco, Temple, Belton, Round Rock, Austin, San Marcos during the evening rush hour. And the storms are generally moving east-southeast at 30 to 40 miles an hour. Boy, it is a good thing that thing's over Fort Hood right now, over the test fire range, or the live fire range, because there is probably a big tornado. So again, we're also starting to see some storm development a bit further north. Hiko, for example, and those storms may eventually impact the Metroplex with a bit of hail a bit later. Let's take a look at the latest severe weather outlook that just was issued from the Storm Prediction Center, assuming that's in the system, and it is. So here's the latest severe weather outlook from the Storm Prediction Center. Let me go ahead and clear some of these cities off. And again, level 2 risk, the yellow shade, that's about a 1 in 5 chance you could have rowdy storms in your neck of the woods. This afternoon and this evening, and we note that still includes North Texas. That level 3 zone, that's the orange. That's about a 1 in 3 chance of some rowdy storms in your neck of the woods this evening. That means large hail, damaging winds, the potential for a few tornadoes. Here's the overall tornado risk for what it's worth. You can see the overall risk is very low, while we have a small corridor of slightly higher tornado potential around pretty much where we're dealing with these storms right now. So again, the main issue is going to be wind and hail today, but a few storms or a few tornado warnings are possible. And in this case, we got a big, bad, very mad tornado in progress over the north sides of Fort Hood up by the live fire range. And you can see winds. And again, we're looking about 3,500 feet above the ground right now. We've got winds showing up over 115 miles an hour moving towards the radar. Winds of 60 moving away. So 175 to 180 mile an hour gate-to-gate shear. With this probable strong tornado in progress over the north side of Fort Hood. In the live fire range. There may be a small tornado debris signature there, but again, there's really not all that much to hit out there. So if you don't have anything to get lofted, it's not going to show up as debris signature. But again, this is probably an intense tornado in progress right now over the north sides of Fort Hood over the live fire range. Those of you on Highway 36... near Flat to Leon Junction, you need to be in a safe place. This is going to be a dangerously close call. We do have what may be a tornado debris signature now. Faint tornado debris signature showing up right there. Again, this could just be some hail, but at the same time, look. This is an incredibly violent circulation. In all likelihood, we have a strong tornado in the north sides of Fort Hood right now over the live fire range. A large, significant tornado. That's down. There's not all that much to hit out here, hence why we're not going to get a tornado debris signature mostly, but it looks like we might have one. Those of you in Flat, Leon Junction, you know what? This is going to be close enough to where y'all would be wise to take shelter if you're on Highway 36 from Fort Gates down to the Grove. Even though this may stay over Fort Hood proper, this is going to be close enough to where folks need to be sheltered, just in case we have a sudden turn to the east. But for now, this is over the live fire range. And let's hope it stays that way, because that is a violent-looking signature. What could be a large, destructive tornado in progress over the live fire range at Fort Hood. So here you've got winds moving towards the radar. In Granger, winds moving away in pink. 103 miles an hour moving towards the radar, 60 moving away. Still over a 160 mile an hour gate-to-gate couplet. And what in all likelihood continues to be a large destructive tornado over the live fire range on the north side of Fort Hood. The tornado debris signature, I believe it is. Again, there's not all that much to hit out on the live fire range typically, but I do believe we are seeing some debris being lofted. And given the violent circulation, frankly, I am content to call it a tornado debris signature. I mean, that's just bad. That is bad, bad, bad. So again, this is over the live fire range, north side of Fort Hood. Winds moving toward the radar about 100 miles an hour. Winds moving away at about 60. So we remain at a 160 mile an hour gate-to-gate couplet. A strong, significant tornado likely in progress over the live fire range at Fort Hood. And frankly, I'd rather it be there than on any sort of other property, because at least there's not really much out there to hit compared to if this was in a town or hitting some other property. I mean, let's be honest, north sides of Fort Hood, if stuff gets lofted, I'll probably just use it as test firing fodder down the road. But again, probable tornado, what could be a strong tornado, continues north sides of the live fire range there at Fort Hood. Sorry, I'm trying to clean up all these hail markers. It's making life difficult. And again, we're focusing on the most intense storms. Now, farther south, you can see a bit farther south into Fort Hood, coming down to Cowhouse Creek Stream, we've got a pretty good rear flank downdraft showing up. Winds over 100 miles an hour on the backside of the circulation, while a probable tornado continues on the northeast sides of the live fire range. This is going to be very close to flat here if this turns left. This is currently about 3 miles west of flat on Highway 36. In terms of roads, anyone familiar with roads on Fort Hood? This is coming up to the Old East Range Road. Tank Trail. AAA Road. So again, live fire range. Hopefully there's no one out there doing any live firing, or else the tornado's going to try to, well, throw stuff back. Back to the how hard it's raining mode. I mean, this thing's wrapped up tighter than a tick's behind. You can see what might be a little donut hole there. What's called a bounded weak echo region, typically. There we go. Sorry, I know all these icons are getting annoying. I'm trying to keep them off. There's a bounded weak echo region over the north sides of Fort Hood. There's the latest scan. That's your hook echo. Hopefully this is starting to occlude or weaken, but the problem is, in that regard, if this starts weakening, this circulation may take a jog to the left. So those of you on Highway 36, south of Gatesville, south of Fort Gates, near the Flat, Leon Junction, the Grove, you need to be in your safe places in case this comes off the base onto Highway 36. Again, strong tornado there. I'm a little concerned we're starting to occlude, which would start to turn it back towards the east, maybe even the north a bit, as that occurs. Back southwest of the tornado, back over Fort Hood proper. Looks like actually about to move on to some of the actual parts of the occupied base. We may have winds 60, 70 plus miles an hour. This storm is also capable of producing baseball-size hail. This is moving southeast as a whole towards Temple and Belton, this thunderstorm. I'm not saying that there's going to be a tornado by the time it gets there, but again, this whole little complex is moving southeast at about 30 miles an hour and will impact I-35. We'd encourage folks not to be on the interstate or traveling when these storms hit during the evening rush hour. You don't want to be stuck on the road and getting your butt kicked by hail, wind, or even a tornado. So if you can delay your travel, that wouldn't be the worst idea. But that is all up to y'all. I can just give advice. What you decide to do with it is up to you. So we zoom out. We've got folks asking about farther north. We are starting to see storms developing closer to the Metroplex. Now, these from Glen Rose to Walnut Springs to Iredell, these are going to be hailers. I'm not worried about tornadoes with these, at least, well, right now. Again, these are going to be moving off to the east at about 50 miles an hour. So I'll put a storm track on it. Maybe. So again, Meridian by 3:30. Whitney, Lake Whitney, about 3:45. Hillsborough, about 4 o'clock. Itasca, 3:55. Carl's Corner, where 35E and 35W meet up, about 4. Milford, about 4:09. Italy, about 4:05. Bynum, about 4:05. Abbott, 4:05 west, 4:10 to 4:05. The potential for large hail with these thunderstorms. We're going to see more storms fire up over DFW a bit later. They could have some hail. And again, we only have one tornado warning right now, and I don't think we're going to have many tornado warnings today. The overall tornado threat is highest today right now, and it's mainly confined with this storm that's been producing a relatively long-lived, strong tornado over the live fire range on northern Fort Hood. So again, this is on Fort Hood proper. If anyone is familiar with the actual roads there, I'll put some roads on there. Again, this is going to be the Range Road, Owl Creek Road. And again, hopefully this is just still on the live fire range. But again, if... Oh, that got even stronger. And again, latest scan, this thing actually got stronger. So now we've got winds. Here, I'll use this button. We got winds moving towards the radar, 115 miles an hour, moving away at about 65. What continues to be a large, destructive tornado over north sides of Fort Hood. Velocity couplet over 170 miles an hour, indicating if this hit anything, it would have a high probability of producing EF2 plus tornado damage. Those of you in Flat, The Grove, Leon Junction need to be in a safe place. All right, we've got a new tornado warning that goes to the city of Belton, west sides of the city of Temple. This is going to be a tornado warning until 4 p.m., and technically it was issued 10 minutes ago, and I didn't notice, so that's on me. There's going to be a tornado warning that does include Belton, Morgan's Point Resort, the west sides of Tyler, The Grove, Moffett, Morgan's Point Resort, Fort Hood, just north of Killeen, just north of Harker Heights, Flat, The Grove, Moffett, Morgan's Point Resort, and Belton. Highway 36 from just southeast of Gatesville down to essentially Temple and Belton. This is a tornado warning. A large, destructive tornado is in progress over the live fire range at Fort Hood. This dangerous tornado is moving southeast at 30 miles an hour. That's your tornado. It's going like this. While there'll be some wobbling, those of you, hopefully, I mean, look, we all hope this thing's gone. And hopefully it will be gone soon. But understand, this has probably been a relatively long-lived, destructive tornado over the live fire range at Fort Hood. And we are blessed it was over the base, over the live fire range where hopefully no one is. Because if this had been in a town or hit anything, this probably would be bad. So, in terms of the velocity, in terms of the storm threats, this thunderstorm is currently producing a strong tornado over the live fire range at Fort Hood. This thunderstorm is capable of producing baseball-size hail, and outside of the tornado, the potential for winds 70-plus miles an hour. This storm is moving southeast at 30 miles an hour towards the city of Temple, Belton, Morgan's Point Resort, Moffett, The Grove. Those of you in The Grove, Moffett, Flat, Morgan's Point Resort, and Belton, you need to enact your tornado safety procedures. If you are in a site-built structure, that means lowest floor, center room, away from windows. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Do not go outside looking for this when it approaches. It is wrapped in more rain and hail than if I had fake hair on top of my head. It is hidden, and there's nothing that could hide the bald spot on my head. This thunderstorm is also capable of producing baseball-sized hail, perhaps larger, like the other day we had in Waco. We had 4-inch hail. I wouldn't be shocked if we get that out of this at times. This thunderstorm is also capable of producing 70 to 80 mile an hour winds. All right, Storm Prediction Center has just issued a MD mesoscale discussion. Essentially, what that means is they have issued a discussion specifically for this storm, just giving forecasters, meteorologists, those tracking this thunderstorm, uh, essentially the environmental update. The short-term summary for this is an intense supercell ongoing over Fort Hood is in a favorable environment for tornadoes and will likely continue for the next hour. The discussion, and I'll translate some of this meteorological mumbo-jumbo. As of 3:15 p.m., high-res radar imagery showed a well-developed supercell over portions of Corral County, Fort Hood. Based on the significant tornado environment around 3 and the VROT, very strong rotation, greater than 70 knots, there's the potential for the storm to produce a strong tornado. We're seeing winds at the Granger radar have increased, and low-level wind shear has become significant, with a strong amount of low-level instability. This intense supercell is likely to persist in an environment favorable for a strong tornado for at least the next hour as it moves southeast. So let's be perfectly clear. This thunderstorm is producing a strong tornado right now over the live fire range at Fort Hood. This thunderstorm has been producing a strong tornado for probably 20 to 30 minutes now over Fort Hood. This thunderstorm is moving southeast at 30 miles an hour. This thunderstorm is in an environment supportive of not only producing a tornado in the short term, but baseball to softball size hail winds of 70 to 80 miles an hour. This is a dangerous situation developing for places like Morgan's Point Resort, Belton, perhaps Harker Heights. We now have confirmation of a okay, so well, we're also going to have to watch. Now, let's go back to the how hard it's raining mode, and let me explain what is probably going to happen here at some point. In terms of the how hard it's raining mode, very high precipitation supercell. Now, one of the best case scenarios we can hope for here in the short term is that this thunderstorm, you can see how it's part of a line now. Hopefully, that means we're about to cut off some of this inflow into the thunderstorm, meaning that warm, unstable air being sucked in by the storm is going to start to become occluded. And the circulation will begin to occlude, and we'll see that tornado weaken and dissipate and die off. Hopefully. Now, something else we're having to deal with now is some very strong winds on the backside of the circulation. With this thunderstorm, still showing winds being pushed out by the storm of 80 plus miles an hour. Even if this tornado dissipates here in the next few minutes, which hopefully it will, this storm's a windbag. So we're still likely to see 70, 80 mile an hour winds, the potential for baseball-sized hail, perhaps in places like Harker Heights, Belton, Temple, Morgan's Point Resort, The Grove, Moffett, Flat, Leon Junction, perhaps even Killeen over the next 20 to 30 minutes. And you can see we've got a severe thunderstorm warning now that encompasses all of those communities I just mentioned. But zooming out, you can see, and we'll switch back to a Texas view. We've got line of storms firing up. Most of these storms are not going to be tornadic. The overall tornado threat is going to be very low tonight. But the strongest storms we see could have damaging winds and hail. We're going to see some more storms probably fire up further north around the Metroplex over the next several hours that could have some hail. Although probably not baseball size, but we could still have some pocket change size hail with storms that fire up a bit later this afternoon and this evening across North Texas, Northeast Texas, and East Texas. You can see this line of storms starting to organize now, just south of the Metroplex, all the way down into western central Texas. Eventually, these storms will be moving into the hill country. We've also got more isolated activity firing up in northern Mexico that's going to move into the Edwards Plateau. All this activity, well, these individual storms in the Edwards Plateau are moving east. This line of storms firing up is generally going to be moving southeast, but we are going to see some storms here in North Texas that move more northeast. I know, that's confusing, but this main line of storms is going to move southeast. Now, the good news is this circulation that we've been talking about for a while now is weakening quickly, occluding. That warm surface inflow has been cut off, and as such, while this thing's a windbag and has a lot of dangerous wind being pushed out of it, this is turning into more of a straight-line wind event with 70 to 85 mile-an-hour winds and big hail versus a tornado. But that doesn't mean we couldn't see another tornado spin up. So we're going to have to watch that carefully. We've got additional storms also further to the southwest that could have big hail. Again, these are hailers. These have a lot of wind. And then this storm on the north sides of Fort Hood moving towards Belton, Moffett, Morgan's Point has had a tornado down for a while, but hopefully that tornado is being cut off from the warm air inflow, and hopefully that means the tornado itself is about to dissipate. That doesn't mean we're not going to see another tornado develop. We're going to have to watch this very carefully to make sure that doesn't happen. But regardless, a dangerous severe storm moving towards Colleen, Harker Heights, Belden, Temple, Morgan's Point Resort, The Grove, Moffett. Hail, destructive winds, can't rule out a tornado. And honestly, if this wraps back up again in the next few minutes, it's going to put another tornado down without any issue whatsoever. So we're going to watch this extremely carefully. I'm not saying this is done by any stretch of the imagination. Like I said this morning, it doesn't matter if we had one tornado day, 5 tornadoes, etc. If that one tornado day comes down your street, it's a big deal. And I don't know this is done yet, because no, I don't think this is done yet. Just look at the reflectivity structure now. You know, that old tornado may be weakened, but look at this. We've still got inflow. Look at the structure there. That's inflow being sucked in. This is all just rear winds being wrapped around the storm. The which way the wind's blowing mode. This thing could... Yeah, we got a problem. This isn't done. It may have weakened for a couple minutes, but this thing is... it's not good. So those of you in the Grove, Moffett, Morgan's Point Resort, those of you on Belton Lake, safe place, lowest floor, center room, away from windows, put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. For folks asking about places like Dallas, other places, etc., we talked about it a bit earlier, and if folks that were here when I talked about that are still here, they can hopefully answer your questions, but we're going to have to focus on this life-threatening situation for now. But we do have a free mobile app. It's called Texas Storm Chasers. You can download it on your iPhone or Android device, and literally neighborhood forecasts, interactive weather radar. We've got live storm chasing video and storm chasing video in addition to this live severe weather coverage. So again, what we're dealing with right now is a dangerous thunderstorm that has a history of producing a pretty bad tornado over the live firing range in Fort Hood. But hopefully that means it didn't really hit anything. But a new tornado could develop at any time, and this is about to move off the base onto Belton Lake and then into places like Jubilee Springs, Moffett, Morgan's Point Resort, and eventually Belton, perhaps Temple. And this is a tornado warning for those communities. This is a tornado warning until 4 o'clock at least. At 3:32 p.m., a possible tornado was located 10 miles southwest of Mother Neff State Park, 11 miles northeast of Killeen, moving southeast at 30 miles an hour. This is a tornado warning. Belton Lake, this will be there about 3:40. Belton and Morgan's Point Resort, 3:55. The city of Temple at 4 o'clock. And again, this storm is capable of producing a tornado, damaging straight-line winds, and big-time hail. So even if we don't have a tornado out of this, this thing's still got a lot of wind and a lot of hail. So those of you in Morgan's Point Resort, Belton, Temple, Moffett, Jubilee Springs, Belton Lake, you need to move to a safe place immediately. And this thing is wrapped up in more rain and hail than a wig would cover on top of my head. You are not going to see this tornado. The only thing you're going to see is a wall of rain and hail. It might look like the green coming of doom. But again, if there is a tornado that develops out of this, it is going to be shrouded in heavy rain and hail. You are not going to see it. So please do not go outside and look. This is a very high precipitation supercell. If we can get lucky here, this thunderstorm will gust out. We'll see the circulation potential cut off, but this thing will still have a lot of wind with it. Example, we're still seeing winds on the backside of the circulation over 80 miles an hour, meaning even if there's not a tornado, we still likely have winds over 80 miles an hour, and that will cause damage. So those of you on Belton Lake, Morgan's Point Resort, Moffett, Jubilee Springs, Belton, and eventually the city of Temple, be ready for what could be a significant severe thunderstorm with 60 to 80 mile an hour winds, golf ball to baseball size hail, the potential for a tornado. And again, this circulation has broadened out a bit. There is a lot of wind shear here, but the circulation's much more broad than it was a few minutes ago. It's not the bright blue against the bright pink. But this thing is still rotating like a top and could put another tornado down at any point. Further southwest, we have a line of storms from Killeen all the way down to Burnett, Kingsland, Buchanan Dam, south of Llano, capable of producing large hail and damaging winds. Those are going to be moving southeast and pose a direct threat to Austin, San Marcos, Kyle, Round Rock during the next hour and a half to 2 hours, the evening rush hour. We're going to have hailers and damaging wind on Interstate 35 for the evening rush hour, so please consider delaying your drive home or drive home early so you're not caught out in it. We've got a supercell thunderstorm capable of producing golf ball size hail. This is going to be on the Rio Grande, southwest of Spofford. It's going to be probably about 8 miles west of Spofford, moving east at 35 miles an hour. That could have big hail. Further north, we've got hailers approaching the southern metroplex. Pretty nasty hail signature on Highway 67 northeast of Glen Rose now. This is going to be moving northeast towards Bono, Cleburne, eventually places like Godley and Joshua. The storm moving northeast at 40 miles an hour towards well, let's just say Mansfield by 425 to 430, Pantego 435, Burleson 415. this thunderstorm could have large hail, and that hail threat may be increasing. So again, DFW, y'all are about to have problems with hail, especially if you live in Johnson and Southern Tarrant counties over the next hour. Again, if you're wondering what's going on in your neck of the woods, we do have interactive weather radar on our website, texasstormchasers.com/radar, or in the free Texas Storm Chasers mobile app. Plus, you get your local weather forecast in the free Texas Storm Chasers mobile app, and that's just under Texas Storm Chasers in your phone's app store. I'm Texas Storm Chasers David-Reimer, coming up on 3:40 p.m. on Friday, the 28th of April, 2023. We've got a pretty gnarly line of thunderstorms firing up this afternoon that extends now from just south of the DFW Metroplex all the way down into the hill country, almost to Spofford in the Edwards Plateau. Most storms today, the most intense storms, once we get this line underway, damaging straight line winds, the potential for large hail. However, there is the potential for a tornado, and right now that tornado threat is concentrated just east of Fort Hood, approaching Belton Lake, Moffett, Morgan's Point Resort, and eventually could be a direct threat to the city of Belton. This storm produced a damaging or a large, strong tornado over the live firing range at Fort Hood a bit earlier, but now the overall rotation has weakened comparatively, but it's still there, so this could spin up again. We also note very strong winds back southwest into Harker Heights and Killeen. Those are outflow winds with this thunderstorm line, and these storms could also have quarter golf ball size hail and 60-plus mile-an-hour winds. Real quick, let me tell you, when you've got 10 computer monitors and a high-end gaming computer plus a couple servers running on a shelf behind you, it can get warm in your confined room pretty quickly. So that's why I just turned the ceiling fan on. So what we're doing right now is we're watching this thunderstorm. Here's the which way the wind's blowing mode. It's going to be winds moving towards the radar down in Granger to the southeast. We've got winds moving away from the radar here, and this is much more broad and less intense than it was about 15 minutes ago, which is good. We'd be looking for a bright blue against bright red, but the storm seems to be on the downtrend in terms of that, which again is good. That doesn't mean the threat of a tornado is gone, but it's better than having a 180-mile-an-hour gate-to-gate couplet. So again, that's what the wind mode looks like. Here's the how hard it's raining mode looks like. And again, this circulation now coming up to the north sides of Belton Lake. The potential not only for a tornado, but a very strong surge of damaging winds here on the back side of the storm. We notice another surge of very strong winds in Killeen and Harker Heights right now that might have large hail. Again, these storms are all moving, these storms in this line here, all going to be moving southeast at about 30 miles an hour. So again, this is all going to move like this. And yes, I know I have great drawing skills. I'm definitely an artist. About 30 miles an hour. Farther north, we've got storms moving more east to northeast. This storm on Highway 67, for example, just southwest of Bono, capable of producing quarter, maybe golf ball size hail. This is going to be passing over Cleburne, maybe just a bit northwest of Cleburne by 4 o'clock. Joshua, 405. Briar Oaks, 410. Burleson, about 410. Rendon, about 420. Mansfield, about 420 to 425. Eventually moving towards Pantego by 430. Perhaps Arlington, including the ballpark where we've got the Rangers game tonight, by 435 to 440. So again, the potential there for large hail as this thunderstorm moves northeast at about 45 miles an hour. So again, while most storms today are moving east or southeast, this one moving into the Metroplex is moving northeast. That must be because we had a lot of folks complaining on Wednesday they weren't getting storms. A lot of folks in the Metroplex seemed a bit upset that the severe threat shifted 60 miles south, and instead of getting softballs and tornadoes in DFW, it was further by Waco. But hey, you know what? Don't worry, complainers. Apparently your wish has been answered because we have one storm in the state moving northeast right now, and it's coming right for you. So again, that's going to be quarter, maybe ping pong ball size hail moving off to the northeast at 45 miles an hour into Johnson County, up towards southeastern Tarrant County by 4:30. The potential for large hail with that, and that could be a threat to the ballpark there by, again, not long after 4:30. A single tornado warning at this time. This is for portions of southeastern Correll and northern Bell counties. At 3:42 p.m., a thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was near Morgan's Point Resort, north side of Belton Lake, or 11 miles northwest of Bell, moving southeast at 25 miles an hour. The circulation is going to be near Belton, about 3:55, Temple at 4. And again, the good news is the rotation is much, much, much weaker than it was earlier. That circulation gusted out, and while there is still some rotation, at this point we're just seeing a much larger area of straight line wind. Harker Heights, Interstate 14, all the way up to Belton Lake, we're seeing a area of wind that could be over 60 miles an hour, 60 to 70 in spots. But again, we're going to keep an eye on this to make sure the circulation doesn't spin up. But a tornado warning does continue until 4 o'clock. Even if there's not a tornado, this is still a very intense, severe thunderstorm with damaging winds, 60 to 70 miles an hour, the potential for quarter to golf ball size hail. And this whole line of storms, which I might add, is becoming more rowdy back to the southwest towards Burnett, Kingsland, Marble Falls, all moving southeast at about 25 to 30 miles an hour. The Weather Service in San Antonio has actually got this part of the line moving east at about 40, which it actually does look like it is. Okay, so while this one storm near Temple's moving a bit slower, the line itself is actually moving east now, east-southeast about 35 to 45 miles an hour. Again, farther north, we've got storms moving into Johnson County. They're going to be moving into Tarrant County. These are moving northeast. The potential for large hail. With this, again, Briar Oaks by 4:10, Joshua by about 4. North sides of Cleburne, the next 10 minutes. Mansfield by 4:25. Arlington around the ballpark by 4:35 to 4:40. Joe Pool Lake, if this takes a little bit more of a south track by 4:35. And again, that storm moving northeast at 45 miles an hour. You can track it in the free Texas Storm Chasers mobile app with our interactive weather radar. Just search for Texas Storm Chasers in your device's app store, or open a web browser and type in texasweather.app, and that'll take you right to the download page. All right, we've got this storm over portions of Maverick County. This is going to be a severe storm capable of producing 60 to 70 mile an hour winds, maybe some $half size hail. The storm's moving east at about 25 miles an hour. We know the new storm also firing north of Eagle Pass. Well, thank you for that. And again, we're just going to be doing here is keep an eye on storms. So since we haven't done this in a while and we've kind of calmed down just a wee bit, let's take a look at the future radar from the high-resolution rapid refresh model so we can give folks who have tuned in the last, 30, 45 minutes, a good timing aspect on what we expect today. So I'm going to do... First off is I want to see what this model is showing right now. That's just to see how it's behaving. And actually, this model's doing pretty well in terms of position of storms, etc. I mean, it's not perfect, but at least I can give you all a decent timeline on what we expect. Thank you very much. And we'll essentially look through about 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. Okay, so here's 5 o'clock. You can see storms getting closer to Round Rock, Austin. We've still got storms down in the Edwards Plateau. A couple storms also in North Texas around the Metroplex. Here is 6 o'clock, line of storms entering the Brazos Valley. Some more storms in North Texas, south of the Metroplex-ish. Hill Country, Austin, just northwest of San Antonio. So we're going to have severe storms likely around Austin, around the Central Texas 35 corridor for the evening drive home. Here is 7 o'clock. Storms continuing to progress off to the east-southeast. At about 30, 40, maybe even 50 miles an hour. You also see some storms further north. We've got rain in portions of Oklahoma and the Big Country. Here's 8 o'clock. Moving southeast still. Damaging winds and hail with the strongest storms. Tornado threat by this point very low. Here is 9 o'clock. 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and midnight. So again, the storms we have firing now are going to make it all the way to the coast by about midnight. Strongest storms are going to be capable of producing hail and damaging straight-line winds until they move off the coast around midnight. So again, we're going to have severe weather potential for the next several hours. And a big shout out and a big thank you to all of our moderators keeping an eye on all of our chats. I know it can be hectic, a nice way to put it at times, but thank you for all your efforts. We really couldn't do this without you. If you haven't joined us, by the way, we are also on Discord. We have a Discord. The Discord link is, if you're watching this on YouTube, should be in the video description, but I'll put a link to the Discord here in the chats. And again, you can watch us there as well. I'll put them in this chat. I have to open the Facebook one. Sorry, if you guys knew how many platforms we were streaming on, it's insane. I've got a lot of windows open here. And this is just what the radar's probably going to look like as we head through this evening and overnight. So at least giving y'all a good timing estimate. Temple is not clear. Belton is not clear. That was a little echoey, wasn't it? Let me see if I can't clean that up. There we go. All right, so now that I've gotten that bit of info out of the way, let me switch back to the real-time radar. It is 3:53 p.m. on the 28th of April, 2023, a Friday. I'm Texas Storm Chaser's BaldyinChief David-Reimer. We're monitoring a line of showers and thunderstorms capable of producing large hail, damaging winds, and the occasional tornado, though the tornado threat seems to be decreasing. We've got severe storms about to move into places like Troy, Temple, Belton, Salado, potential for large hail, damaging winds. We've got some hail, some strong wind, some very heavy rain in Killeen, Harker Heights right now, but that'll be done for places like Killeen and Harker Heights by about 4:10. So far, no new tornado warning with this storm, and the circulation itself is pretty much disintegrated, which is good news. We're not seeing all that much in the way of strong rotation in the low levels right now, but damaging straight line winds are for sure ongoing. For example, Belton Lake could have winds 60, 70 miles an hour right now, same just southeast of Harker Heights. And we're also going to have an issue with flash flooding around Belton and Temple shortly, too, with very heavy rainfall. Looking back farther to the southwest, we've got heavy storms from near Briggs to Burnett to Kingsland, just north of Marble Falls, near Bertram, north of Round Mountain for now, back southwest to Oxford, to Fredericksburg. And again, this line of storms is generally moving off to the east-southeast at about 35 to 45 miles an hour. So let me go ahead. We're going to put a storm track on it, on this whole line, just to give you all a good idea of where this is probably going to end up over the next hour. Yeah, we're going to do that. So, put some more cities on here. Georgetown. If this continues moving east at about 45, this may be an issue by 4:15. Round Mountain, about 4:04. This could be in Austin. That's not right. Hold on. It just doesn't seem right. So again, this line of storms, ignore those times, moving like this, essentially, over the next couple of hours, moving east at about 35 to 40 miles an hour. Damaging winds and large hail with the strongest storms. The tornado threat has diminished for now. So we're not going to see a tornado warning issued for places like Temple. But still, the potential for very strong winds about to enter Temple, along with some hail potential. Farther north, we've got storms firing over Tarrant County. These could fire up pretty quickly and develop a bit of hail. Farther south, we've got a storm capable of quarter-size hail, northwest sides of Cleburne. That's going to be moving northeast at about 45 miles an hour towards places like Briar Oaks, Mansfield, Rendon, over the next 20 minutes. Well, thank you for that. Mansfield. So this will be Mansfield about 4:20, Joe Pool Lake, the west sides, Lake Ridge Parkway, where the Christmas light show is, about 4:30. East side of Joe Pool Lake, near the dam, near 1382 and Camp Wisdom, about 4:35. Perhaps near I-20 and Spur 408, about 4:40, which means Dallas Baptist University, about the same time. And again, this storm is capable of producing at least some small hail as it moves northeast at about 45 miles per hour. Farther south, we've got severe storms capable of producing damaging winds and hail from near Troy, Temple, Belton, just west of Salado, coming into Florence, Bertram, down to Marble Falls, just north of Round Mountain. These storms are moving east with a bit of a southeast component at about 50 miles an hour now. So they're all saying it's moving at about 45 to 50, so I guess we'll just smile and wave and put a storm track on here. They're saying at about 48 to 50, so present course, that means Bartlett about 419, Holland about 410, Cameron about 430, Georgetown about 420 to 425, Round Rock about 430, the city of Austin maybe 440 to 445. And that's assuming these have a more southeastward component of motion. If they move a bit more to the east, places to the north, the times are going to be good. Places farther south, it may be a bit later than what I had originally said. But right now, we do have some hail cores, quarter to maybe golf ball size hail. We're also seeing pockets of 60 to 70 mile an hour winds. We're not seeing any sort of defined low-level rotation right now, which is good. So we're going to be tornado warningless here in just a minute. We're going to have severe thunderstorm warnings galore, but not tornado warnings. And these storms are also capable of producing a bit of flash flooding. Example, a flash flood warning's just been issued for Bell and Correll counties. Moving back north, we've got storms just north of Cleburne. Might have some nickel, maybe quarter-size hail. Again, that's going to be moving up towards Mansfield, Joe Pool Lake, crossing over 360 between 287 and I-20, eventually moving up towards Dallas Baptist University, Mountain Creek, the Community College off Loop 12 up here in Illinois, Duncanville, north side of Cedar Hill, maybe the Antenna Farm, Mount Lebanon, Camp, Cockrell Hill, eventually downtown Dallas, maybe by about 450. We also have additional storms starting to fire up over Tarrant County. Those could fire up quickly and start producing at least some small hail. Storms farther to the south from Clifton to Lake Whitney to Blum to Whitney. Maybe some small hail, some 40 to 50 mile an hour winds, but those storms are so far just below severe limits, or at least staying that way for now, which is good. So we head back farther to the south and southwest. We've got storms on 131 and 277 from just north of Eagle Pass up to Spofford, just south of Brackettville. Storms capable of producing, at this point, probably some quarter-size hail, maybe golf balls, with these storms around Eagle Pass, and they are moving east at about 25 miles an hour. So again, we might have some nickel to quarter-size hail falling around the north sides of Cleburne right now. Excuse me. I'm about to go find me some caffeine. Moving northeast towards Mansfield, we've got some other storms going up pretty quick over Tarrant County. In fact, let me turn on a product that'll let us see all the layers here. You can see we're starting to see a hail core develop pretty quickly with the storm over Mansfield, South Arlington, storm firing just north of downtown Fort Worth. All these are going to be moving northeast at about 45 miles an hour, so that may result in some folks in Tarrant County into Dallas County getting a little bit of hail over the next 30 minutes as we see additional thunderstorms now developing. And then back farther south, we've got a line of thunderstorms. From Temple to Florence to Marble Falls, they're all moving east-southeast at about 40 to 50 miles an hour, damaging winds, large hail. There are no tornado warnings anymore. We do have a flash flood warning for Fort Hood, Killeen, Harker Heights, Belton, Salado, Bartlett, Holland, Rogers, Little River Academy, Temple, and Troy. Further north, we've got a new severe thunderstorm warning that's going to be for portions of Johnson, Tarrant, and Dallas counties for the storm near Cleburne, but also for new storms developing over Arlington. That one's going to hail core pretty quick. We've got a severe storm now just northeast of Cleburne. Keene up to Joshua, moving northeast, could have quarter-size hail. Storm firing over I-20, just north of I-20 up to Spur 303 in South Arlington. Between Cooper and Matlock over to Collins, east to 360 moving northeast. That could have some hail just south of the ballpark and Jerryland here in the next 5-10 minutes. The potential for quarter-size hail, that's going to be moving northeast towards Grand Prairie and Irving. Maybe just west of downtown Dallas towards Love Field. We also have storms going up pretty much, for all intent and purposes, Crowley, downtown Fort Worth, Holcomb City. So like I said earlier, we're going to see storms go up pretty quick, and voila, here we go. These are not tornadic. These are not probably going to produce damaging winds, but they are going to have the potential for hail. So again, in the Metroplex, y'all got lucky on Wednesday and didn't have to deal with at least much hail. Well, you're about to get at least some pocket change size hail out of those storms. Storms that are west of Hillsborough, moving towards Hillsborough, capable of maybe some nickel size hail. And then these storms from Temple to Florence to Marble Falls, Johnson City, Fredericksburg to Kerrville, they are moving southeast or east at about 40 miles per hour. And again, they'll start turning more southeast here as time goes on, but either way, we're going to have problems with wind, hail, heavy rain, and lightning for places like New Braunfels, San Marcos, Austin, Round Rock, Georgetown by 5 to 6 o'clock for the evening drive home. All right, let's zoom. But what I can do is I can turn this radar off. Let's take a look at the loop. Again, you can see we've got storms firing up pretty quickly. And that's going to be the general consensus as we head over the next few hours. All right. Real quick, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go grab myself a beverage and a snack since I haven't had a chance to eat yet. And live stream's not going anywhere. I'll be back with audio here in just a few minutes. But until then, y'all get to enjoy the magical radar. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is the 28th of April, 2023. I'm Texas Storm Chasers Baldy-in-Chief David-Reimer, back at it now. Keeping an eye on some severe storms this afternoon. We dealt with some spinny doom mischief across portions of central Texas earlier. We have no tornado warnings now, which is good. We've got hailers now in the Metroplex. We've got one storm approaching Mansfield. We've got one from Arlington to Cockrell Hill. All these are moving northeast pretty quickly at about 50 miles an hour. And they could have nickel to quarter size hail. So again, pocket change size hail, heavy rainfall, cloud to ground lightning. Farther south, we've got some storms that are not severe at this time. From Itasca down to Whitney, Lake Whitney, just west of Aquila. West of Hillsborough and Abbott. Those are generally moving off to the east-northeast. Farther south, we've got a line of storms. These are now starting to move southeast as anticipated, extending from near Troy to Florence to Marble Falls to Johnson City to Comfort. And again, these storms are moving southeast at about 30 miles an hour. The potential for damaging straight-line winds of 60 miles an hour, and the potential for some quarter-size hail. So the threat of the really giant hail has come down, and at the moment we're not seeing indications of any sort of low-level rotation, and we're just seeing some pockets of stronger winds. We're not seeing, 80-mile-an-hour winds at this point. We're seeing some pockets of 60 to 70 in spots. So the main threats with these storms moving southeast this evening going to be the potential for hail, damaging winds, heavy rainfall that could cause street flooding, and some flash flooding. Any storms that are kind of out by themselves, an example being these storms in the Edwards Plateau, which are moving east, these will have a higher threat of producing the larger, more damaging hail. In addition, we also have some hailers across portions of North Texas. We've got storm moving into Mansfield, storm in Arlington to Cockrell Hill. These are moving northeast at about 50 miles an hour, the potential for large hail and damaging straight-line winds. All right, well, with that being said, since we have no tornado warnings at this point and most storms are not producing high-end severe weather, we're going to go ahead and stop the continuous live coverage for now. But if we have any big-time severe weather issues or tornado warnings, we'll be back faster than you can say David's Baldy-in-Chief for obvious reasons. So that being said, we do have live streaming weather radar on our YouTube channel. And we also have free interactive weather radar and down to the neighborhood forecast in the free Texas Storm Chasers mobile app. Just search for Texas Storm Chasers in the Google Play and Apple App stores. We'll be here keeping an eye on things, posting updates to the social media channels and website, mobile app. And again, we'll be back with severe weather coverage if needed. Otherwise, you'll have a good afternoon. We'll be keeping an eye on things. This line of storms will make it down to the coast by midnight. Storms in North Texas continuing to move northeast with some hail through the evening hours, making for a unpleasant rush hour for most of I-35, San Antonio up to the Red River. All right, y'all have a good evening. God bless. We'll be keeping an eye on things.